Hello and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Wayne and Tommy Donlan.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
9 feet out behind me right now, so put your stopper up there on your mono.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a slow grind in the morning, you know, and that happens sometimes.
When you present it, you're sweeping it over an area. Now, when you get these big, wide areas...
Yeah, those are the new Columbia River pop from McKay crab and shrimp here.
There we go.
Yes, indeed.
Nicely done, buddy.
That's a beautiful fish, Dwayne. Nicely done.
Thanks for rolling me into him, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Hello and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Wayne and Tommy Donlan coming to you live from the Fish on Northwest studio located here in Olympia, Washington. And but you know, at the cost of being repetitive, it's nice to be back.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you sound okay now.
I'm kind of there. I got the tea and the honey going.
Yeah.
Let's see if the voice makes it through the show.
Man, I should put up a wall right here. I don't want any of that coming over here.
We can put one of them clear screens
There
like
we
they
go.
still use it
There
from the
we go.
banks and stuff, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we're still apparently in COVID in some minds.
Yeah.
Hey, nice to see you, buddy. It's been a bit, and you know, getting through that doggone show season and illnesses. And
Yeah.
boy, I know a couple people that are pretty sick after this whole thing. So saying our prayers for them, good friends and whatnot. We want them to fully recover. So anyway, I want to welcome everybody to the program. So glad you could join us for today. Tons of info to get through. You know, Tommy, last week I had to kind of punt and throw out a kind of a pre-record, and people got to sit and enjoy and watch some great fishing. Tonight's all about the content.
That's right. It is.
It's all about
It's
the dialogue.
loaded.
We got
It
a
is
lot
loaded.
of things to talk about. Speaking of which, you had a kind of a busy week. You got out on a deprivation hunt.
I did. I've been spending the
Couple
last
buddies.
3 days cutting up elk. You know, and that's
couple
always
cows.
a good thing.
Huh?
Yep. So Phil Kim and Jason Takayoshi
Fantastic.
getting in on their very first little elk action. It was depredation hunt,
Yep.
right? So it's not really what I would classify as a hunt.
It's an
but
opportunity.
they found success. It was an opportunity, and we got meat hanging.
Randy Newberg says, if you don't take advantage of those things when they're given to you, you're an idiot.
Yep.
So,
Amen.
Me in the
Amen.
freezer, they got the experience, and you're teaching them how to break down.
That's
an elk,
right.
Which
Yep. Never done it before.
everybody
Never got-
wins.
Yep. Never got
Farmer
one.
wins,
never
right?
quartered one.
That's all
Yep.
good stuff. Kind of brings us forward here back to fishing. Been getting a lot of questions as of late. We're still in steelhead season, and if you're catching some of our content that was previously provided out there, you're probably seeing us, you know, catching steelhead here and there, and or even this year. But questions are coming in, Tommy, about the Okie drifter and the beads, worms. Hey, Dwayne, what hook are you using? And because we hadn't been out in the field for a few weeks, I just was like, you know, I'm going to spool this back up. It's a little impromptu kind of, well, it's a piece from Bait Lab segment from last year. Been using these Gamakatsu bead hooks now for well over a year, and I stand by them. They are fantastic, and don't think a 2-aught is too big for steelhead. That brings us to this week's peak outdoor moment of the week. The brand new, and it's fantastic, the Gamakatsu bead hook. Now looking here at the table, we have a size 1/1 and a number 2. You're going to notice the curve on this hook. There is no straight part of that shank. It comes off of the eye, and it actually goes into the bend right away. It's a wide gap hook. It's slick coated, so it has really easy penetration, and it goes deep and gets the hook bedded into the jaw of that fish way there on the bend of the shank. I mentioned it's a wide gap. It's also a thin wire hook. Thin wire hook, which allows it to be a lighter hook, but it's extremely strong. These actually came from the bass world, and we all know bass fishermen and ladies are notorious for hook sets, and they're not bending these out on the tournament. So they've incorporated this into a bead style hook with a few modifications. Again, I really like it because it's an ultra strong, thin wire. It's not going to overweight your presentation. In other words, your beads and your rags and your yarnies and worms and things, it's not going to weight them down and keep them down, dragging along the bottom, getting hung up. It's going to allow your buoyancy of your lure to do exactly what it's intended to do. Again, it has a wide gap, ultra strong, and great penetration. Check out the new bead hooks by Gamakatsu. There you go. Peak outdoor moment of the week. And again, finesse hook, super slick, wider gap, ultra strong. Comes from the bass tournaments, bass tour. And, 1 and 2 aught, depending on size of bead presentation, worm or okie, what have you. Fantastic hook. If you're not using those ultra thin, ultra strong wire Gamakatsu bead hooks, you need to get yourself some and get rigged up. All right, running down the show. Bringing tonight, or for today's show, running down the show here, guest Cary Hofmann, owner at CNH Guide Service. Grays Harbor Steelhead recap, how'd we do? Then we'll discuss Puget Sound Blackmouth and some of the fall fishery season setting frustrations. You're going to want to hear this. Then, of course, Olympia legislative session is in session. We have a few bills that we've been following up on, and we have some updates. You'll be mad, guarantee it, but don't shoot the messenger. Then we're going to welcome to the studio guest, Washington State Representative Tom Dent, working hard for Fish and Wildlife Commission reform. We'll discuss with him what he's been working on. Part 2 with Representative Dent, seals and sea lions, can we please get some assistance with predation control from the feds? And then, Tommy, fish numbers, springers, Columbia Fall, run Chinook, sockeye, and did someone say potential increase in license fees? Are you kidding me? All that coming at you later on in the program. So we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Cary Hofmann is on the docket. Allied, the new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Allied boats have standard reverse chine and lifting rakes to help you plane faster and run at lower RPMs. Allied boats have several models to choose from, ranging from a 19-foot Mustang all the way up to a 32-foot Liberator. So regardless of what type of heavy gauge aluminum boats you are looking for, Allied Boats will have it for you. Contact Allied Boats today to learn more about these incredible fishing machines.
I make my living catching fish, not only as a tournament angler, but as a guide as well. Catching fish is important, and Gamakatsu hooks for me, they kind of help take the luck out of fishing a little bit just because they're a high quality hook. Obviously have a really good reputation for being very strong and very sharp. Gamakatsu, I use their products every day in the boat, and big part of my success.
All right, welcome back here to the program. I want to welcome our first guest for today's program, Cary Hofmann, owner at CNH Guide Service. That's www.cnhguideservice.com. Welcome to the program, Cary. Thanks for taking time out and joining us.
Hey, thanks, Dwayne. Thanks, Tommy.
Absolutely. So, hey, you're very passionate about our fisheries, and you're all over the place. You're fishing, rivers, coastal rivers up north, Puget Sound, ocean fisheries. You're also very involved on a lot of the compact meetings or, informative meetings. You weigh in on helping, steer direction in craft seasons and whatnot. Matter of fact, you'll probably be involved with north of Falcon tomorrow.
Today's been crazy already.
Yeah, I can imagine. So given the fact that we were off the waters here in the Grays Harbor region for 3 years, and then we finally got a season back, what were your thoughts going into, especially when you saw the forecast numbers? Did you anticipate it was going to perform pretty well?
Yeah, I was just really excited. We're used to getting things taken away and not getting them back. And I think it's a big deal that we worked hard, productively, to present some seasons and some opportunities and get us back on the water. With the escapement where it was, I wasn't sure what to anticipate. Pre-closures and everything like that. If you could go on, we can name rivers now because tomorrow's the last day.
Yeah, we have high water and everything's blown. Yeah.
No one's going to make any last minute decisions, but the Nooch is 4 or 5, 6 opportunities a day on a good day. If you can average that, hey, that's what it's all about.
That's good fishing.
I was kind of anticipating a lot more crowds in 2 to 4. I was pleasantly surprised with what we saw. The quality of the fish, I mean, it seemed like it was very consistent the whole duration of the season. Now, what would have happened in March? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw water like we haven't had to deal with before. It was a lot like the 2015 season with a long period of low water and just kind of having to adjust to it. But these winter fish, they're still going to come no matter what. It's just patterning where they're moving, how fast they're moving, and trying to anticipate that. And that's just the fish. You're trying to anticipate other boats, people, and things like that. And it got a little interesting, but I like the challenge. I was really happy with the season. We were right there in that 5 to 6 opportunities a trip, and I can't be upset with that at all.
Yeah, that's excellent, Cary. I'm curious, over the past 3 years, when we've had these closures, one, do you feel that they are warranted or were warranted? And do you feel that, the rebound that was projected as a result of those closures, do you feel like that came home and we're seeing the benefit in the run?
Yeah, I'll answer the first part. Just first, I do think there was some restrictions necessary because there's some underperforming runs. And when you have overlapping hatchery fish on wild stocks that are underperforming, you need to make adjustments. The funny thing is with steelheading in the past, like 2018 was pretty slow in Grace Harbor streams. We didn't do that well. There was not a lot of catch. We all stopped fishing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, well, hey, we're not getting opportunities. We told our clients, hey, we're not seeing very many fish. What do you guys want to do? You go to other systems, you put it off. And that was kind of a decision that we were making back then.
Yeah.
The year before, 2019 when it got shut down. So that was kind of interesting dealing with that. So I do think it was warranted. It just did not help that 2019 had a huge early push of fish and it was great. And, I think the mentality was that they missed the forecast. And I mean, forecast uncertainty is so high. I mean, I look at statewide what they try to predict and it's hard. I mean, I've always been told, it's like being a forester and counting trees, but all the trees are underwater.
Yeah, your accuracy and success is probably
dismal, and it just leaves a lot to be desired. So and it doesn't help. You don't want to get mad at them and things like that. It doesn't help anybody because the department's just trying to do their job.
Sure.
Using the information they have and their tools for management are to restrict fisheries. So it's just kind of a hard way to go about it. It was a big adjustment for me. I hadn't been that busy in a January in a while. Started to feel a little bit like Groundhog Day.
That's a pretty good problem to have at times.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we get up against a break here, given the length of the season, I mean, albeit was somewhat short, but do you think it was adequate for just getting our opportunity back on the water and not go too far into it to where we're going to start having higher impacts on wild fish? Do you think they did a good job drafting or crafting that season for the time period?
I certainly do, especially considering there's a big push to list OP steelhead as an endangered species.
Yeah, correct.
Like politically, we gotta make sure we're being careful. I think the gear restrictions were fine. We can all deal with that. But I think this was a good conservative, dipping the toes in, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, I think it was a good approach as well. All right, don't go anywhere. Going to jump out for a quick break. North of Falcon starts tomorrow with the statewide forecast. You're going to be well involved in that. We have some other fisheries, Tommy, and I want to get to talk to you about, to include Blackmouth, some fall opportunities and what's coming this summer. So stick around. Jumping out for a quick break. We'll be back with Cary Hofmann right after this.
All Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why all boats are backed with a lifetime warranty. All Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. All Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Before you buy any boat, stop by or call Defiance Boats today to ensure you are getting the very best glass boat your money can buy.
Start your outdoor adventure at SportGo and Outdoor Emporium, 2 locations with the best selection of name brand outdoor gear at affordable warehouse pricing. Over 60,000 different items to fit in your adventure, like Gamakatsu fishing gear, premium grade high carbon steel hooks, Gamakatsu custom designed fillet and boning knives, to tackle and storage containers. Gamakatsu, simply the best. Maximize your outdoor adventure with the right gear at SportGo and Outdoor Emporium, Fife and Seattle.
All right, welcome back here to the program. Joining in Tommy Donlan, and of course, Cary Hofmann. So, Cary, before the break, we were talking some steelhead, but now I want to kind of switch gears with the statewide forecast coming out tomorrow, north of Falcon process up and running. But first, I want to kind of drill down on some of our Blackmouth opportunity. And I kind of posed this question to you the other day, and I want to get your thoughts again here. So, thinking back 10, 15 years ago, do you think the state was releasing more Blackmouth than they are today? And do you think some of the reasons we are so kind of pigeonholed into these really short seasons and compacted is based on the management principles that they've employed over the last several years, to include the sublegal encounters, the wild encounters? Has that been a game changer to our opportunity, or is there also a lack of fish at times?
I don't know. I mean, everything's kind of cyclical. I think a lot of times Puget Sound's really unique. I think there's a certain amount of fish that just decide to not leave.
Yeah.
There's years that they can just stay put, and we've seen it. And the whole sublegal encounter thing, that is really tough if we get painted into a corner. 15 years ago, we just have 200 days of salmon fishing in the Sound, and now if we're lucky, we're at 136.
Yeah.
Give or take. But it's a tough one. I know, like, we're producing more fish on paper now that we know about. I think there was a lot of other groups in the past that were putting more fish out there, and it wasn't as recorded. I think we have a much better means of monitoring and recording what's going out, so we're just learning more, and as it progresses, we'll get more and more accurate with that kind of information.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say. It's like just predicting that. So what these fish decide to do, are they going to go out? Are they going to stay? Like, what's around? That's kind of up to them, I think. It definitely seems like they have a good tactic for getting some of those fish to stay put with release timings and things like that. But ultimately, we just have these constraining stocks, mainly the stilly and snowfish, and what was the third one? Nooksack, I believe, is one of them. But it just puts us into a situation where it's hard. It's hard to carve it out. I mean, our population is now 8 million in Washington State. And
there is that
thing to take lightly.
There is that.
And as opportunity for local steelhead dissipated, I noticed a huge shift in participation in blackmouth fisheries.
Yeah.
So it's all connected, and I don't think managers were really making that connection that somebody will drive 3 hours to go catch a Chinook.
Yeah, right.
They're
gonna have to start worrying about the flounder population too, because now people are switching over to flounder fishing.
That's what it is. Yeah. So
well, thankfully those little buggers aren't going anywhere.
I know. Thank God. So Cary, we're talking about the seasons in the Sound, Central Sound, area 9 and 10. They've been ridiculously short. The seasons are a flash in the pan. You mentioned the Stillaguamish and a couple of the other rivers briefly, and those rivers tend to really have an impact on our opportunity in the salt. And so I wanted to get your take on the assessment of those rivers. And is that a true red flag, something that we should be worried about, or is it false? And are we ever going to get past that?
Well, 2023, the Puget Sound Chinook management plan went into place. And there were some new thresholds that were put on us for management. Like the lower abundance threshold for the Snoqualmie Basin Falls was like 700 fish. I don't quote me on the numbers exactly. I don't have it in front of me. But when you have that number in place and there's no way to revise it, and it's a revision and review process for this 10-year Chinook management plan takes 3 years, we're stuck.
Yeah.
Like it's federal. That's what we're stuck dealing with for now. And trust me, that Skycomish River Summer Chinook fishery is my favorite fishery in the world. I love that. Side drifting eggs and flip flops and shorts.
Who doesn't want to do that? Yeah.
It's a blast.
Yeah, for sure.
So losing that, personally and business wise, is a huge impact to me. And we've kind of dealt with it, and taken it in stride. So, we're dealing with that. But I think some of it's warranted. And we just have these mixed stock fisheries and a couple bottlenecks that are really getting us to where we are right now. And it really paints a picture that it doesn't matter how many hatchery fish you throw out there. If the wild stocks are underperforming, you can't get out those fish anyway. So you really want to have a holistic approach to it and look at it ecosystem wide and have that kind of management approach, basin wide. I do know that, there's not a lot of talk about the genetic differentiation between the falls and the summers, and that is kind of a way that we could try to carve out a distinction. I know they're kind of grouped as one, and there's talk about that, but all that is just a work in progress because of the review period for revising that plan. That's a really extensive plan, 415 pages or something like that.
No, geez.
Light reading.
Yeah. Well, hey, if nobody has picked up on anything other than the fact that fishery management is complicated, and there's a lot of variables, a lot of uncontrollable factors, and it's pulling out hair time and trying to craft these seasons. So I wish you the best, my friend. I know you're going to be well involved, and I know you're bringing some options or some ideas on some season setting opportunities for Puget Sound and areas around into this process. So I can't wait to see what comes of it. And we do appreciate all your work and your efforts in going in. We could talk about this for a very long time, but unfortunately, that's the one thing we don't have is time. So I want to thank you for joining us on the show. Cary Hofmann, CNH Guide Service, www.cnhguideservice.com. Check him out. Book a trip. Cary, can't thank you enough.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good one. Yeah, that man has his finger on the pulse, Tommy.
Yes,
in case you didn't pick up on that. Indeed. All right, jumping out for a quick break. When we come back, hey, we got some house bills that we want to kind of regurgitate, discuss a little bit. Tommy and I are going to have a discussion right after this break. Defiance Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Defiance Marine guarantees the best price on a new and best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine is a boat dealer who proudly sells Defiance, Allied, and Arima boats. All boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Defiance Marine has all your boating needs to help you get out on the water.
The Northwest premier upland bird hunting destination. Located along the beautiful Umatilla River in eastern Oregon. Fully guided bird hunts with expert guides and top-notch dogs. Enjoy comfortable accommodation and gourmet meals at the Riverview Lodge. Book your sensational hunting experience with Horseshoe Curve Outdoors.
All right, welcome back here to the program. So, Tommy, as we know, ledge session is in. House bills are being introduced. A number of these affect our opportunity to be on the water, in the woods. There's, it's a chess game.
That's right.
And we try to follow the ones that pertain to, fishing and hunting commission, and of course gun bills. And don't even get me started, right? Because they are introducing some stuff that's just gonna fry your brain. But a couple of them that are worth noting. House Bill 1685 would have stripped the commission of its authority and moved WDFW into the governor's cabinet. Loved and favored by the likes of Washington Wildlife First and other
right.
of course, right?
Of course.
Because it was going to literally put the direction of the commission under an individual as a dictator.
Right.
And then he or she, if they're all about, fishing and hunting and pro and an advocate for, hey, things are pretty good. But we can't base a position off of personality.
Right.
Right. This has to be a fluid system that works for everybody. And that one was not going to work. And it did not. It received a hearing, but that was it.
Right.
And it's gone.
Yeah. And you would have gotten, with that kind of structure, you would have just gotten like a west side only structure.
For sure.
That was just all about preservation and then end of story.
And that's the key right there.
It is. Yeah. And so we had another one, Senate Bill 5728. If you remember, one of the co-sponsors, Senator Keith Wagner, who we had on the show.
Yes, sir.
And interviewed last year.
Yep.
Looked to create, if you remember, a 14-member nomination committee, right? To help feed the governor kind of like, hey, these are the people that we see fit to be an appointees to fulfill the mission of the commission.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that did not even receive a hearing at all.
It didn't receive a hearing, which was disappointing because I think the structure of it is sound. In other words, we're trying to take a broader perspective on it. And like, here's a collective group that says this individual, he or she is like, here's our front horse. And here's the qualifications they bring. It had some other things in there too, like must possess a fishing or hunting license 3 to 5 years. It had a lot of things that were like catered towards recreational, outdoors fishing and hunting. I think some of that language is probably why it died, because people they were like, no, you can't force people to have a fishing license.
Well, and the whole point of the current commission, you remember, is like their point is, well, it's not about fishing and hunting. That's a small percentage of the population. It's about the people that are going on hikes, the people that are viewing birds, the people that just want to kind of drive through and look from a distance, right?
Yep.
And so that was their explanation on that.
So there was another one, 1930, of which we'll discuss here later on with Representative Dent, but it would have given county districts the say in the appointee. So they were looking at breaking out and breaking out the 6 regions of WDFW and utilizing county commissioners to like bring names of persons forward and push them up through the process. And now see, I like that, because it's kind of along the lines of a plan. I literally went into Olympia last year, sat in Senator Vandewey's office and said, here's the regional map. 6 regions. We could pull a commissioner from each region.
Right.
And here's a process of by putting it in front of the voters. Like, I wanted these people held accountable by the people.
Right.
Port commissioners, fire commissioners, they're voted in by the people.
Right.
I worked for fire commissioners for 35 years. There's a process.
Yeah.
They are accountable to the people and for the people. So if you have fish and wildlife commissioners that are in their seats that beholden their accountability to the people, and there's a process to get there. Yeah, there may be a group of commissioners, county commissioners that push them up or whatever, but there's a trickle down effect that brings you back to the people. There's accountability. Right now, there is no accountability.
Right. There isn't. And of course, the governor would never want to do that.
Well, they didn't want to do it. I was told one of the problems with that is voting districts, population densities. Like, you can't take the 6 regions in WDFW and break them out specifically as an equal region because of population density in all the different voting districts within that region. I'm like, well, there's got to be a workaround somewhere. Well, guess what? 1930 kind of actually worked it to where this is now a thing. This could happen, right? So
we'll see if that moves forward. We do have a little bit of success, or at least moving in the right direction with another one, House Joint Memorial 4004. So this is actually a bipartisan bill in Olympia that is effectively asking Congress and Trump to get a little bit more leeway in managing our sea lion population or overpopulation, right? And also our harbor seals as well. And so that came out of the legislative committee with actually an 11-0 due pass recommendation.
Which surprised me because I told you I sat in on that hearing. I sat and watched it via Zoom, and overwhelmingly the resistance from the main populace, right? The people were like 2,695 folks were for it. Over 5,500 people were against it. Now, Westsiders, people look at them with their cute eyes in the water puppies, just, it's all about the love of nature. And it was, bird watchers. Hey, outdoor, it's your thing. Great. But if you haven't read the science or understand what's going on with the sea lion and the seal populations in Columbia River and all of Puget Sound, then you're misguided and your emotions don't pass bills.
That's right.
Like, we just cannot shore this up based on emotions. And so, to your point, 11-0 due pass recommendation. This thing's moving forward. So, more to get into with that, with hopefully Senator Dent. So, tell you what, jump out for a quick break. My phone's been ringing. I think he's trying to contact Jordan. Jump out for a break. See if we can't get Representative Dent on after this break. We come back.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride in Bremerton, Washington. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why Arima boats are backed with a lifetime warranty. Arima can offer every boat with Honda outboard packages so that you can take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Call or stop by Arima Boats today and let them help you get into your very next boat.
You haven't been here, but you know it. You've heard the sounds, smelt the air, and seen where your heart lands, if not yet. You haven't been here, but you've longed for a destination near or far. A place where discovery and history thrive for young eyes and old alike. You haven't been here, but you're on your way to a place not far. ExploreTheDalles.com.
I make my living catching fish, not only as a tournament angler, but as a guide as well. Catching fish is important, and Gamakatsu hooks for me, they kind of help take the luck out of fishing a little bit just because they're a high quality hook. Obviously have a really good reputation for being very strong and very sharp. Gamakatsu, I use their products every day in the boat, and big part of my success.
All right, welcome back here in the studio. Tommy, looks like we're trying to get Representative Dent on the old Zoom technology, man. What are you going to do?
No, always a challenge.
Well, we'll punt a little bit here. Let's go over some Springer numbers. So those came out not too long ago. Looking pretty favorable. I'm a little bit excited. Of course, got the Allied Mustang. That baby's built for the Columbia River, along with Puget Sound, but we'll talk about that later. The 2025 forecast for up River Spring Chinook, 122,500 fish, which is more than last year's 116. But it is still down a little bit from the 10-year average of 139, but not that far down. And historically, as of late, they've been under forecasting as well. So
yes,
we got them, Jordan. Give me a thumbs up there. That season runs March 1st through April 6th, buoy 10 line up to Beacon Rock. So that's it's nice that we get to get into that first week of April, which is always fantastic. You're going to have, little
better opportunity.
All right. Looks like we have Representative Dent on the line or on the Zoom, and want to welcome him to the program. Representative Dent, thanks for taking time out of your busy legislative schedule to join us.
Yes, thank you. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Finally got a Zoom link to work.
Fantastic. Got to love technology. So let's start off with one that we've been discussing here on the show a few times. You're sponsoring signature on House Bill 1930. And before we get there, I want to kind of back up a little bit and just kind of get your thoughts. When the Ruckelshaus review was unfolded and you and the legislator got to take a look at this thing. What was your initial thought on this? Was it eye-opening, or was there kind of really no surprises based on what you already know about our Fish and Wildlife Commission?
Well, when I read the report, there was some things in there that I was not surprised with, but there was some things in there that I was surprised with. But I think what captured my attention the most was the 1,000 emails I received from people concerned about the report and requesting that we look at option 3. And, that's what really reached out to me.
Gotcha.
I was interviewed for that report. The Reckle House did interview me on that. So I was one of the 100 people or so that was interviewed. So not totally surprised by what I read, but, you're always some things that I didn't know about that I was, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really quote it for you. But
the result of that Reckle House report was pretty loud and clear, I'd say. That our current process is broken, and so with your sponsoring of this House bill, and also keeping in mind that there was $300,000 that was allocated to do this study and this evaluation of the current commission structure. Do you feel that this bill is being put in place because you want to make sure those funds weren't wasted and really to drive some action, or what is the full intent of this House bill?
Well, I mean, I've had concerns around the commission for some time now, as maybe they were out over their skis a little bit. And, it's like, well, we have the Fish and Wildlife Commission is setting some policy for the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I think people that should be on that commission should understand the role and understand that Fish and Wildlife does manage our wildlife and does have, a big role to play in what happens out there in the world. And we don't need somebody with some kind of agenda that goes against what this agency is designed to do. And that's what concerned me the most, is we weren't paying attention to what the agency is supposed to do and giving them some solid guidance. And, and taking into account that the fishermen, the sportsmen, the hunters of this state are relying on this commission to do the right thing. And I felt like I felt for several years now that maybe they weren't quite doing exactly what they should be doing. It was becoming too political. And that's my big concern, something like this that becomes political.
Yeah.
And that's where you're reading that the third option of the Reckle House report, kind of spelled that out pretty well, that it needs to be in the hands of the citizens, of the sportsmen, of the folks that stay in Washington. And that's, I'm always in favor of that, no matter what it might be. But and try to keep, you can't keep politics totally out of something like this, but you can minimize it. And that's kind of what I wanted to do and what this was about.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And the politics has a way of finding its way into a lot of what's going on there through Olympia and through the different agencies throughout the state. I want to take a look at this 1930 bill. To me, it just screams accountability. Like, we're finally getting something in place that has a trickle up, trickle down effect. Like, the commission is just running rampant right now. Really seems to be no accountability. This, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it really seems the way you had it structured, coming from commissioners within county jurisdictions through the different regions that DFW manages and all the way up, those persons would be appointed to those seats and would thereby at some point, be held accountable or have to answer to those folks that put them up there.
Well, that's correct. That's kind of where I was going with this. And and also I wanted to spread it out. I wanted to spread it across the entire state, not just get it locked into one part of the state or another, right? And that's kind of why we did, why we structured it the way we did. Is I think every region, should be represented on this commission, and then having some at-large members is I think an okay idea. But we also have it structured so you can't have more than 2 members from one region, so that would eliminate some, attempts at political power as well. So get opposing views or from across the state or different views. Let's hear from everybody so we can put this thing and get it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree.
All right, Representative Dent, we are up against the break, so don't go anywhere. I want you to hold on through the break because we come back. We got a few more questions relative to 1930. We got a few things to talk to you about sea lions and seals and mitigation. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Representative Tom Dent right after the break.
You haven't been here, but you know it. You've heard the sounds, smelt the air, and seen where your heart lands, if not yet. You haven't been here, but you've longed for a destination near or far, where the young and old find rest and excitement, not apart. You haven't been here, but you're on your way to a place not far. ExploreTheDalles.com.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Oh, beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No, geez, come on.
nice fish. Nice fish.
All Defiance boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why all boats are backed with a lifetime warranty. All Defiance boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. All Defiance boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Before you buy any boat, stop by or call Defiance Boats today to ensure you are getting the very best glass boat your money can buy.
All right, welcome back here to the program as we continue our discussion with Representative Tom Dent, Republican from the 13th District, Moses Lake. Tommy.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Got another question where we left off.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just frame it by saying this, this bill is completely sensible. It's good for Washington State wildlife.
I agree.
It's good for the citizens of Washington State.
Mhm.
It is also big on accountability as well, which I'm a big fan of. And I don't see how this could just be held where it's at, right? And so I guess my question for Representative Dent is this. So this bill received a hearing, and can you kind of describe like where are we at currently in process? What's the next step? How are we going to move this forward?
Is there one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So you're correct. The bill received a hearing, and the same day we had the hearing on Representative Springer's bill, which looked at have it making a cabinet level agency. Okay, and people actually testified on both bills at the same time. This bill had incredible amount of support compared to the other bill, which didn't have very much support at all. So, but where it's at in the process, neither bill came out of committee. Okay, so and we're past policy cutoff. That was this past Friday was policy cutoff, and we didn't bring the bill out. We knew that when we once we got into this process that it wouldn't leave committee. But we've started the conversation, and we've gathered up quite a lot of interest around the state of people. Not that we didn't have any before, because we did. I received more emails on this topic this year than anything.
Yeah,
I received more emails on this than I did the gun control bills. So
wow.
It's but we know that it's we pretty much knew it wasn't going, but we've started a conversation, and a good conversation. So, and there's holes in this bill. There's some things we need to strengthen, I think, a little bit. I think the accountability could be a little stronger. I think how to replace commissioners could be a little stronger, a little more forthcoming. But we've got it going, and what we've and Representative Springer and I both talked about this after the hearing. That we both know that we're going to have to spend some time in the field this coming interim, and listen to folks and get out there and find out what they think. The people that sent us all the emails. Let's contact as many of them as we can and get their take on it, so we can try to get this right. And I think we have the support to do this by a commission. Is there? The people set this up several years ago, and that's what they still want it. And I think we just have to get it right and learn from our mistakes, right? So,
yeah, for sure. The takeaway here for me, Representative Dent, is you've initiated or started the conversation. The Ruckle House Review has put it on the radar of a lot of legislators. We understand there is an issue with the current makeup of the commission. There's a problem with how those folks are selected and appointed and or secured in their seats. And so we need a change in process. And this kind of starts the conversation. And I applaud the likes of you and other representatives and some on the Senate side that are moving bills forward to try and get, change and accountability structured within this Fish and Wildlife Commission. Because if you're not doing this work, if it doesn't come out of our legislators in Olympia, it'll never happen. So appreciate you, taking this up and moving forward with it. So I want to switch gears real quick before we run out of time. House Joint Memorial 4004 is also gaining a lot of traction. It got an 11-0 pass to move on through. And, with the previous adjustments to the management of sea lions and seals, last time Trump was in office, they got a little bit of aggressive here and made some changes that made it possible for fish and wildlife agencies to call some of the problematic sea lions and whatnot. What's your take on 4004? Are we going to see some traction on this thing? Do we have potential to finally get some federal help in managing our predators?
Well, Congressman Newhouse had passed legislation here when Trump was in office before about so we could mitigate some of these seals and lines in the Olympia River, which I think is something that was sorely needed for sure. And will this one move? I think I hope that it will get some it will create some interest in DC and Congress, that people will do that. I think right now I'm not sure that they have time to take this up. I would like to think they would, and I get a chance to talk to Congressman Newhouse next time. I'm sure going to bring it up that, I think it's something we need to look at and take a little deeper dive into, because, well, we can blame a lot of things for their problems with the salmon, but there's a lot of things we haven't been looking at, and we've been ignoring the seals and the sea lions. We've been ignoring the terns. We ignore the pollution that's going into the Puget Sound, and we need to take a look at this and start doing something. We have some rivers here that go into the Puget Sound on the western side of the state that don't have dams in them, and yet they don't have salmon population either. So I think it's more than looking at the dams and trying to blame something that, and what I've always said, that being from Eastern Washington, of course, I'm sensitive about the dam issue, right? But, let's deal with the pollution. Let's deal with the terns. We've been complaining about the terns for years.
Yes.
Let's do something about the sea lions. I mean, I've been down the Nisqually within this river there with the tribe and seeing the seals up the Nisqually River. So, they don't belong up there. And we need to, they've come up here because they found this food supply, and, we need to deal with that and be realistic about it. And I don't say we have to take them all out, but we need to be realistic about how we can manage the seals and the sea lions if we want to manage the salmon.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off, but we have to make up our mind what's important.
I agree.
We couldn't agree more. So speaking of action, any other House bills that we should be paying attention to and watching closely?
For sportsmen, I can't think of anything right now at the moment. But it's not in my purview at the moment anyway. So
all right,
not a problem.
But if Bill's got my name on it, you should be watching it.
I went down your ledger. I was paying attention to most of them that pertain to fishing and hunting and guns and all that stuff. And I appreciate the effort you and your constituents are putting forth. It's folks like you that are fighting the good battle for us to continue what we are truly also passionate about. And sometimes it takes a number of years to get these bills structured correctly that everybody's going to sign on and pass through. So I know it's not going anywhere. It may come up next year under a different number. And I'm pretty sure you and other folks are going to be working hard to see some of these things through.
Well, we will be, and it could come up next year with the same number, and we might just come back with a substitute and get it moving forward. So,
all right, well,
I'm looking forward to it.
I'll take you up on your offer next time. We'll have you here in studio.
I like that idea.
That's a good idea. I like it. All right, Representative Tom Dent, we appreciate your time. You're very busy during ledge sessions, so anytime we can get with you, we truly appreciate it. I want you to have a great evening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for fighting the good fight.
You bet. All right, Representative Tom Dent. He's one of those guys out there doing it for us, Tommy. Appreciate that guy. All right, jumping out for a quick break. We come back. We're going to jump back into some Springer forecasts and, of course, fall Chinook, Columbia River after the break.
The Northwest's premier upland bird hunting destination. Located along the beautiful Umatilla River in eastern Oregon. fully guided bird hunts with expert guides and top-notch dogs. Enjoy comfortable accommodations and gourmet meals at the Riverview Lodge. Book your sensational hunting experience with Horseshoe Curve Outdoors.
Start your outdoor adventure at Sportgo and Outdoor Emporium, 2 locations with the best selection of name brand outdoor gear at affordable warehouse pricing. Over 60,000 different items to fit in your adventure, like Gamakatsu fishing gear, premium grade high carbon steel hooks, Gamakatsu custom designed fillet and boning knives to tackle and storage containers. Gamakatsu, simply the best. Maximize your outdoor adventure with the right gear at Sportgo and Outdoor Emporium, Fife and Seattle.
All right, welcome back. And where did we leave off, Tommy? We were talking some Springer numbers.
We were. Yep.
And I tell you what, a couple of the standouts for me, number-wise, I look at the Cowlitz preseason forecast this year, 13,700, almost 14. I can't remember the last time we had almost 14,000 projected for the Cowlitz. It's going to be busy, guarantee it, but there could be some great opportunity there if this all, materializes. And, of course, Kalama's at about 3,000. That's a great number. 2,500, anything north of that generally performs pretty well. But that little river gets so crowded. It just is absolutely bonkers down there. And then the Willamette, over 50,000, 51,000 or so. We got some tributaries that are boasting some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, it's the same program with the Columbia River. I mean, really, and you look at last year's numbers, all but one of the identified strains came in over projection.
Last 24, yeah, you're right.
2024, right?
Yeah.
And so, looking at that total combined forecast between, Lower River Hatchery and Wild, and then the Upriver Brights, the preseason forecast was 547,800, right? So 548,000. The actual return, 670,000,
exceeded
right?
expectations.
Completely exceeded.
Absolutely.
And now our combined forecast for 2025. You know what it is?
700 something.
718,000.
718,000. I mean, when we're getting close to $750,000.
Yeah.
And
solid.
Historically, and thankfully they under forecast because when you want to show up to work every day and be like, you guys over forecasted again, or you guys are awesome because the numbers are coming in.
You want to undercommit and overperform.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think DFW has figured that out, and that's kind of their mantra anymore. So early sockeye numbers are down from last year, about 50,000 when we're talking that Columbia River strain. Last season, I think they came in at about 360,000 over projection. So there you go again. Under what did you say? Under
commit and overperform.
Under commit, that was your word. And it did by far, in excess of 350,000, in excess of what was projected. Numbers are down a little bit, but if we can exceed what's projected again, we're going to be up around 700,000. Not saying we're going to get there. It might be a 350 to 400,000, which still boasts a really good Brewster sockeye pool fishery for sure. Blackmouth, we do in fact know we'll get areas 9 and 10 open April 2nd through the 30th. Kind of a short window, 4 days a week, trying to give us as much opportunity on the water as we can get, right? And then Area 5, that everybody's kind of talking about that too. Area 5 opens April 14th, only open through the 30th.
Yeah, that's a joke.
Short 2 weeks.
A joke. We had a month before. Excellent fishing.
We used to fish Blackmouth from January to April.
I know.
I mean, and that was kind of the point of some of the questions for Cary. Like, are we planting less fish? Is it the constraints? Is it our management philosophies? What is it that we hardly get a window of opportunity on these Blackmouth, and they're small.
Yep. And we had an agreed to fishery up there in CQ that ran, weeks and weeks and weeks.
This is true.
And then all of a sudden now we're counting fish and shutting it down. So it was unfortunate. The other thing that's unfortunate, there is a Senate bill that got voted on here. It was Senate Bill 5583, moved out of committee.
This is the gun control?
All five. No. This is the one to increase license fees.
38%.
38% increase.
How do you justify
in
that?
license fees?
38% increase.
And of course, all 5 Democrats voting in favor and 4 Republicans voting a hard no.
Weird.
And so they got a hearing on Tuesday. We'll see how that goes.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. Jumping out for a break, we'll bring it back to close it out. Allied, the new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Allied boats have standard reverse chine and lifting rakes to help you plane faster and run at lower RPMs. Allied boats have several models to choose from, ranging from a 19-foot Mustang all the way up to a 32-foot Liberator. So regardless of what type of heavy gauge aluminum boats you are looking for, Allied Boats will have it for you. Contact Allied Boats today to learn more about these incredible fishing machines.
You haven't been here, but you know it. You've heard the sounds, smelt the air, and seen where your heart lands, if not yet. You haven't been here, but you've longed for a destination near or far. A place where discovery and history thrive for young eyes and old alike. You haven't been here, but you're on your way to a place not far. ExploreTheDalles.com.
All right, welcome back in here as we wind her down. So I don't know if you noticed the Allied parked in the driveway when you pulled in.
See, it's hooked up, ready to roll.
Ready to roll. Downriggers all mounted on. My burner wind systems, just
balls attached.
It is 7 minutes down the road.
Yep.
I think Matt Messing's joining me tomorrow. We're going to head out here, backyard, Area 13, and go troll around. I got to get some hours on the motors, and we got to do some drags with some spoons and maybe some bait.
Not you leaving the jigs at home? You taking the jigs? What's the story?
The jigs are on board. The jigging rods are on board.
Okay.
It's a little early, but if you find a pile of them for some reason, just crushing on bait. I mean, why wouldn't you hover over them and drop a jig, right? So no, jig rods are always on board. Primarily trolling. We got some couple of different areas we want to scrape along and bounce the ball down the mud and kind of see what's going on. There are a few fish around. You just got to hunt and peck.
Yeah. What's your go-to rig? What are you going to run first?
Well, so you got to think about time of year, size of bait fish. Herring are small right now. Right?
Yep.
Talking with Cary Hofmann, he's like, yeah, I'd be running a 2.5.
There you go.
Spoon, right?
Yep.
So I'm at that. I got a bunch of 2.5s and 3s tied up. You know, herring aid can't go wrong. Cookies and cream, cop car.
There you go.
Anything with glow and UV combination. Don't forget your Potskis fire gel.
Yeah.
Right.
You got some nice weather tomorrow. It's going to be sunny.
Well, I looked at this a week ago, man. I'm like, I got to get out there. It's like 1.2 on your wind speed, 60 degrees, great tide midday.
Right. Yep.
So I'm just looking to get hours on the boat and time on the water. Hey, I want to remind everybody, if you have not checked this out, please jump over to our webpage, www.fishhuntnw.com. They're going to find a lot of insightful bits of information, how-to DIYs, and a lot of blogs, lots of video content. Of course, Phelps Game Calls are there for your pleasure. Click on the coupon code, 10% off Phelps Game Calls in the entire year as we progress through 2025. So yeah, spend some time there. Also stop by all our social media, can I say that? Social media platforms and give us a like and a follow. Boy, our numbers are busting straight up on the Facebook.
They are.
Holy smokes. Appreciate all the folks jumping on board and supporting us. So you getting out this weekend doing anything exciting or?
Oh man, I got kids soccer practice.
Okay.
I got to finish the grind. For those elk.
You got the elk to grind up.
Yeah, got to grind them up. And
busy week of grinding meat and hopefully bonking some fish. You know what? Weather's going to be actually pretty darn good throughout the weekend. So take some opportunity, get outdoors, get something done. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.